Hi everyone, I'm Tally, this is Farrell, and we're bored of it, and we're back with another RPG review, and this time we're talking Shadowdark. This is a system with a lot of buzz, and it builds itself on being fast, familiar, intuitive, and deadly. Shadowdark is a modern redesign or take on old school RPGs like D&D, with a focus on streamlining and ease of play.
So we're going to jump straight into what we think, how to play and all that. But just know that while we did buy everything Shadowdark ourselves, we did get a discount on the core book and Cursed Scroll Zine 1. So please keep that in mind.
So the one thing Shadowdark is great at is providing a lot of options on how to play, but without it being overwhelming to new players. For example, you can create a level 1 character right off the bat and it tells you everything that you need to do. And there's even options for randomization to speed up the process. But it does suggest that you first run a gauntlet with level 0 characters, which was by far our preferred way to start. Gauntlets are, in short, death traps. They are dungeons that are full of monsters, traps, and puzzles, which can also be traps if you do them wrong. Each player will create 4 or more randomized level 0 characters and stick them in the dungeon and see what happens. Level 0s have no class, minimal health, and minimal equipment.
Combined, these provide Shadowdark with an ease of entry and also an instant engagement to players. So point 1 on this score is the fact that when you play a gauntlet with level 0 characters, it kind of strips away a lot of the extra rules that come with classes and certain weapons and abilities. It means that players can get to grips with the kind of core system of Shadowdark without a lot of extra faff kind of weighing them down and crippling them with indecision. It also provides a lot of fun in terms of exploration and pushing the boundaries, because these level 0 characters are almost destined to die. So it allows players to experiment a bit more, that they might not, take chances they might not with their actual characters that they've developed and got to know over time. Third, this all combines to create a lot of laughter, silliness, and fun and engagement, because you basically have village people and peasants running around getting mullered left, right, and center. And it's just silly and it's fun and it just provides a lot of laughter and some real memorable sessions. So whoever then survives the gauntlet will get to progress to being a level 1 character and getting their class, and the players can then kind of ramp up a little bit with those extra rules now that they have got to grips with the system. Well, we already touched upon how it is an excellent way to ramp up the complexity and the decision space in the game. It's also an excellent way to allow players to ramp up gradually the role-playing elements, because when you have a level 0 character, they might be faceless, you might kill them off instantly through your actions, so you don't develop too much attachment to them. But once you get the level 1, then you start getting more into that character and developing a personality. You begin to get spells and weapons and magic items, and it allows you to have a wider range of options to problem solve. And this kind of, in a very nice bit-by-bit way, allows players to become more creative in their problem solving and thus kind of develop their characters more. And this is what I've seen with my players. And I think it works really well. Now, I think if you have very inexperienced players with this type of system, going straight to level 1 could cause a bit of kind of incapacity to make decisions if there's too much at once, where you have kind of your race abilities and class abilities and spells, and it can get a bit much. But of course, if you have any experience with Dungeons and Dragons or any type of system like this, you very much are not going to have a problem going straight to a level 1 character and getting your adventure started.
Now, Shadowdark has many classic elements. Classes are what you'd expect, perhaps by a different name, and the stats you roll for are the same as D&D. When you want to attempt an action, you roll a d20 and then add or subtract any relevant modifiers for that stat, and then see if you equal or beat the difficulty class for that action or the armor class of an enemy. It comes into its own through a focus on dungeon crawling and light management. XP is tied to the quality of loot that you gain whilst crawling, but dungeons are dark. Players will need to manage their light sources, usually torches, which are set against a real-world timer, which is managed by the DM. Being in the dark creates a bad situation, so it puts a natural importance on the system. It's a really cool mechanism because it pushes for a more high-octane form of play because you're always working against the clock. That's not to say you can only dungeon crawl in Shadowdark, but it has been our group's preferred way to play. The core book provides a lot of tips on how to create pretty much anything you'd expect to explore in this type of game: entire biomes, towns, dungeons, and taverns. There's also well over a dozen randomized encounter tables for inspiration or for use during the game for pretty much any location your party would be in. There's also a wealth of support in creating your own adventures and making them unique, but it should be noted there are no pre-made adventures in the core book.
For that, you'll want to look at the Cursed Scroll zines, and this is something that we have used. So these are additional little booklets filled with all kinds of extensions of the game, so new classes, new weapons, items, and everything else, but also adventures and dungeons. Ourselves, we have used the Gauntlet from Cursed Scroll 3 and a dungeon from number 1, and we've enjoyed both of them. And I'd also suggest looking at the community at large as well if you want your own scenarios, because there are plenty that people have designed. And I think that we'd also like to give a shout out to the Trial of the Slime Lord, a free gauntlet that we definitely enjoyed. Overall, Shadowdark is a brilliant system. It's a perfect entry for people who maybe have heard of D&D, are interested in trying Dungeons and Dragons, interested in getting into this world of role-playing, but have always been a little scared on how to approach it, especially when you have so many decades and so much content available for D&D. Now, just in our group that we've been playing Shadowdark with, one of them joined because him and his own gaming group had bought a starter set for Dungeons and Dragons that was hundreds of pages long, and they felt so intimidated they actually never got around to playing it. But now that he has played this, he feels much more confident and ready to turn and tackle that starter set and hopefully create his own sessions, which is just something that Shadowdark can do for you. The system is indeed fast, familiar, and intuitive. And I can say that even though myself and my players have no real love or connection to the classic fantasy setting, this has probably been the most successful RPG I've run in terms of fun and player engagement, and that is because of the strength of Shadowdark's systems. And one thing in particular that I really credit with that is the core book, because it has probably been the best core book in my experience as DMing, in terms of helping DMs create their own scenarios and situations. It's full to the brim with roll to discover tables for everything: NPCs, taverns, cities, events, all different biomes. And there's just such a wealth. And because the prompts are a little bit tongue-in-cheek often, it allows you to very much extrapolate and expand a very simple prompt into something much bigger. And this means that players have great fun sessions with a lot of silliness and drama and excitement. And never before has it been such little work on my side to run that compared to the amount of output the players get. Probably the only negative I'd have for the core book is that sometimes I found the organization a little frustrating. Now, I will say it's a very good book and it has a very good table of contents, very easy to reference, but it's just that some things appear in multiple sections, split across multiple pages, and there's a lack of cohesion. And sometimes these are important elements, like for example, leveling up. I think that's split across 4 different kind of subsections. And sometimes it can seem contradictory because it's spread out so far across the book. And this isn't the only kind of example of this. So it has been a little frustrating at times. But like I said, the excellent table of contents has gone some way towards alleviating this problem. Final thoughts. I would say for our group, Shadowdark has been a surprising smash hit, but maybe let's hear from a player.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been enjoying it, and I've enjoyed it more the more we've played as well. I think maybe in the beginning I felt like I wasn't as connected to the characters as other RPGs that we've played, and we're quite into kind of doing the whole role play, doing a voice and all of this. And in the beginning I struggled to maybe connect with my characters, but over time and playing with them and like getting to know them, it becomes a bit easier. So yeah, my enjoyment of it is definitely going up the more we play, and it is really fun to do the kind of dungeon crawling puzzle style as well. I really like that. So you've designed some which is like an escape room type of thing, and yeah, we've really enjoyed the puzzle element of that. So yeah, if you're interested, then I can definitely recommend it, maybe as a first foray into RPGs especially.
Yeah, especially if you want your RPG to be this kind of classic fantasy setting.
Yeah,
I think I would definitely recommend it. So that will do it for our review of Shadowdark. I really appreciate you watching, and please consider subscribing if you find it helpful.